going to be making a contoured face mask. You can choose any type of tie that you like or elastic for this version. This mask has my single tie back tie, which you can see in the video linked below. This mask has 2 long ribbon ties that you can tie behind your head and behind your neck. And this mask has elastic. You use the same pattern for all 3 of these, and I'm going to show you how they're constructed in this video today. To make this mask, you need a piece of fabric for the outside of the mask. I'm using cotton. You can also add optional interfacing if you would like to, but the mask works well without it as well. You also need another piece of fabric for the lining. 8 by 14 inch rectangles should be big enough to make any of the sizes on the pattern. You're going to want to go to my website and print out the free pattern. It's available in several sizes. I'm going to be making the size medium today. I've tried about 10 different similar face mask patterns, and what I found happened was when I tried to talk, the mask would move around and it really drove me crazy. So the one thing I really liked about this pattern was I felt that I was able to talk freely and the mask could stay in place. So that was a really big plus for me. So that's why I chose to use this pattern today. The first thing I'm going to do is fuse my interfacing to the back of my main fabric. The interfacing that I'm using is Pellon SF101. So I'm going to turn my fabric upside down, place the rough side next to my fabric, and press. Next, I'll fold my fabric in half and trace my pattern. Now I'll repeat this process for the lining. Next, I'm going to take my mask pieces and I'm going to place them right sides together. And I'm going to stitch along this long curve that will be the front of the mask with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'm going to do the same thing on the lining. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to open up this seam and press it flat. I find it's best if you finger press it first, so take your fingers and open up the seam and just run it along the edge. Since an iron is so big, it can be difficult to fit in these little spaces. So if you have a teeny tiny iron, that would be great for this. But if you don't, just give it a good finger press first, and then with right side down, once it's starting to lay a little bit flat, press it in small sections. And you can use just the tip of your iron when you get to the curve. And then I like to cut a few clips along the sharp curve right at the nose. This will help it lay just a bit flatter. My seam is now pressed and clipped, and you want to do the same thing for the main fabric and the lining. Let's start by talking about how to add elastic. First, lay your fabric right side up. And what I like to do is I like to test the size. To test the size of the elastic that I need, I'm going to take my piece of elastic. I started with a piece of elastic that was 10 inches long, and I'm going to overlap it over the edge of my fabric 1/2 inch. And I'm going to clip it in place. I'm then going to curve the elastic and overlap it 1/2 inch again and clip. Then what I like to do is gently try it on. So I'll hook this elastic over my ear. The center seam on the mask should line up with the center of my nose. And if it doesn't, I know that I need to adjust. So I adjusted my length on my elastic several times until I got the fit I wanted. Once I know that my elastic is the correct size, I can pin it in place to get ready to sew. I'm going to place my elastic 3/8 of an inch down from the top corner. And I'm going to line up the raw edge of my elastic with the raw edge of my fabric, and I'll pin it in place. I'm going to take the same piece of elastic and loop it around, careful to make sure it's not twisted. And I'll place this 3/8 of an inch above the bottom corner. And I'm going to repeat for the other side. And then I'll baste these in place with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. First, I'm going to prepare some fabric straps. If you need specific instructions for how to do this, there's a link to my other video for the one tie back mask that's linked below that will show you exactly how to make a fabric tie. I'm just going to be using a piece of 1¼ inch fabric, and I'm going to fold it in half and then fold it to the centers and then fold in half again. Adding fabric ties is very similar. Again, take your main piece of your mask and lay it right side up. You do the same thing as the elastic. You take your short piece of your strap. Mine is 7¼ inches long. But you can try it on just like we did the elastic to see which size works for you. And then wrap it and put it 3/8 of an inch up, just like you would for the elastic, and you'll do that on both sides. For this mask, I'm going to add 4 long ribbon ties so that I can tie them behind my neck and head. You can also add 4 shorter ties to tie behind your ears. As with the elastic and the single tie back tie, you're going to put your ribbon 3/8 of an inch from the corner. You want to make sure that the ribbon is facing right side down and align it with the side edge and pin. You're going to want to do the same with the bottom corner. Move the ribbon out of the way and repeat on the other side. Since these ties are so long, you do have to take care to keep them out of the way. So I'm just going to roll these up. And I'm going to put a pin through the back and up through the top and over the ribbon to hold it in place. I'm going to do the same on the other side. No matter which style of ties you've done, the next steps are the same. Lay your mask right side up and make sure the ties are in the center and away from the edge. Place the lining piece right side down on top of the mask. Align the seams and pin it together all the way around. Stitch all the way around the edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but leave an opening in between the ties on one of the sides. You want to make sure that you stitch the ties themselves, but you can kind of feel where the sides of the ties are. I'm going to make myself a little mark. So that's where I'll leave my opening. Clip the four corners. And now turn it right side out through the opening. Use a turning tool to turn out the corners. Make sure the opening is tucked in and press. Now you can top stitch the opening closed. You can top stitch all the way around, or you can slip stitch the opening closed. I'm going to top stitch the opening closed with a 1/16 of an inch seam allowance, and then I'm going to finish my one tie back ties. The link to how to do those more specifically is down below. Just because I like the look, I like my mask to be balanced, I'm going to top stitch all the way across this edge, and I'm going to do so on the other side too, even though it doesn't have the opening, just so it looks the same on the left and the right. These masks also fit great inside my face mask keychain holder, which is linked below if you're interested in that tutorial. Simply take the mask and fold up the nose bridge. Place the ties or elastic in the center. And then fold the mask in thirds. You can now slide it inside the face mask case. And flip the pocket over.